It's Christmas and I need a Christmas tree, and unfortunately I didn't pay hundreds of pounds for the roof bars to fit to my Tesla Model 3, which means I've got to fit the Christmas tree in the boot of my car. So in this video we'll be exploring how much boot space the Tesla Model 3 actually has and how the cold weather is going to affect the battery usage and the range. It's a relatively short trip, but I won't be holding back. I'm going to be preheating my Tesla Model 3 using Sentry mode while I'm shopping and cruising at 70 miles an hour down the dual carriageway. And if you're new to electric cars and haven't got a clue what I'm talking about when I talk about kilowatt hours per mile, then I'll explain it as MPG at the end of the video and how I work that out as well. So welcome to the story of the Christmas tree and the Tesla Model 3. So it's 2 degrees outside, but it feels like -1. So I'm going to preheat my Tesla Model 3 before I hop into it, so it's nice, warm and cozy when I get in there. So I've been a good boy and charged my Tesla Model 3 to 80% overnight, and I actually tend to do that more so in the winter, because then if I have an unexpected trip with the extra energy usage you get in the winter, it kind of gives me that little bit of a safety net so I don't have to worry about range. So even though my Tesla Model 3 has been in the garage, even though my Tesla Model 3 has been in the garage, it's saying it's 3 degrees inside. So we'll turn on the climate control now, up to a nice cozy 21. Do you want to come Christmas tree shopping? And I've got the heated seat on as well. So whilst I'm talking to you now, that should heat up. Now that initial burn to get the heat into the cabin is what drains most of the battery when you start a trip. So if I really wanted to, I could turn my charger on and actually use the power from the house to do that burn and not drain the battery. But because I want to kind of see how it affects the battery, I'm actually not doing that today. But that's a way you can avoid battery usage if you've got a long trip planned and you need to get the most out of your battery usage. So it's already at 15 degrees, it's heating up nicely. So let's go out. Sorry mate, you're gonna have to get up and go Christmas tree shopping. So the Model 3's been heating inside for about 5 minutes. It's got it lovely and toasty in here. It's reading about 19 degrees on the app, so it has made a difference. And now the sun's coming through, that should help as well. And it's only used 2%, so we went from 79 down. It's literally just only ticked over to 77% now. So I'm suspecting it was like a high-end 79 and then just dropped down to a high-end 77. So we're looking at 2% for that pre-burn. And that's the initial bit that uses all the battery because it's got to get from that really low ground level temperature up to a nice toasty 21 degrees. I'll show you the boot space when we get there so that we don't lose any of the cabin temperature because I want to keep it nice and warm in here. It's now 3 degrees, it's saying outside on the Tesla Model 3's screen. Right, let's make it more Christmassy because I don't feel that it's Christmassy enough in here. So if we go into Toy Box and put it into Santa mode. Now it feels like Christmas. What you should know is if you hit this, you can't stop it. It has to play through the whole loop. But there you go. Perfect. So the garden centre is only 11 miles away and it's estimating we will have 71% battery when we get there. So it shouldn't be too much because we're currently at 77. So it's saying we'll use 6%. And the round trip, if this is accurate, should be using 66%. But don't forget, we're going to be using some battery when we're on Sentry mode. And obviously, preheating, that's the Santa mode. So when you indicate it, it's going to ring a bell, which is hilarious. I don't know what else it's going to do as we make the journey down there. But yeah, so we can put up the trip meter and just see how much battery we're going on target as well. So we can see if we're over or under target as we make our way down there. Get ready, here we go, indicating left. This gets me really Christmassy. I love it. I'm like, I think this is going to be me for the foreseeable future. So I've reset the range meter as well. I've reset the range meter so we'll get an accurate watts per mile on the way down there. This is hilarious, the indicator. Oh my God, there's someone on one of those scooters on a main road. That is not safe at all. The Tesla Model 3 thinks it's someone walking, which is interesting. So because that initial burn, you can see we're already going over the battery usage, what it initially estimated. So we've already dropped below that grey line that was the target kind of percentage that we were going to be using. And we're now looking at 70%. Oh, it doesn't like lorries. It's now looking at 70% when we're going to get there. Oh, I've just noticed as well, it's snowing on the screen. So although we haven't got a sleigh going on here, we've actually got little snowflakes coming down to get us in that Christmas mood. Perfect. He does know how to cheer up Tesla drivers, doesn't he, Elon Musk? Got my Christmas jumper on, going to get a Christmas tree. All we need now is some snow. Then we'll be on, although looking at the sun, I don't think any snow is forecast in the near future. It's still very cold outside though, we're still hitting 3 degrees. I apologise if this is getting annoying for you, but I can't help it, I'm afraid. You can see the other thing that affects your range in winter is the fact this line here is your regen braking. The dashed line, whether you can see that or not, is effectively saying that I'm not going to get max regen braking because the battery's cold. So that affects how much energy you can claw back when you're kind of like slowing down. And what you tend to do in winter is actually use a lot more brakes because you don't get the maximum braking effect that you normally get from regen braking. So not bad energy usage so far. We're at 314 watt hours per mile, which is just over 3 miles per kilowatt hour. But we'll see what effect that has. Now the cabin's up to temperature, we'll see what effect that has when we start cruising at 70 miles an hour, because the next section, until we get to the garden centre, is all dual carriageway. So I'll be hitting 70 miles an hour on autopilot. And whether you can see that now, but now we're cruising at 70 miles an hour, my watt hour per mile has jumped up to 367. So we're now just under 3 miles per kilowatt. So there you have it. Once we've arrived, we're on 69% charge at the moment, which has used 8% of the battery. We've covered 11.2 miles and used 4 kilowatt hours. So that averages out at 335 watt hours per mile, it's saying, which is about 3 miles per kilowatt. And that's because we've been using the heater and we've been cruising at 70 miles an hour and all the pre-burn and stuff like that as well. So let's head in, get the Christmas tree and have a look at the boot space. Now I'm looking at getting a 5-foot tree, which I think should fit in no problem at all. It might even fit a 6-footer, but my house wouldn't, so we won't be getting that big. The boot space in the Tesla Model 3 is officially 425 litres, but that's including the frunk and the hidden compartments. Now, I don't think the space is going to be the issue. I think it's going to be the gap in the boot and actually fitting it through that gap. I'm hoping they put the net around it, otherwise we may have issues here and I might have to just balance it out a window or something. Right, before we go shopping, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because Tesla Talk is all about Teslas, the future of electric cars, and all the software and new features that Tesla bring out. So if you're interested in any of those topics whatsoever, it makes sense just to hit that subscribe button down the bottom right-hand corner straight away. Right, let's go and see if a Christmas tree will fit in a Tesla Model 3. So here is the little beaut. Let's see whether it will fit in the car or not. Now before I do that, I've got to put the seats down, so we'll do some prep to start off with. Okay, so I think that's all the seats down. Now to try and get it in. Stump or tip first, that's the question. Oh, it's actually quite light. So this is the bit that I was worried whether it was going to fit through this gap. And thankfully, because it's got this net on, it's not had an issue whatsoever fitting through. But I think any wider tree, and I might have had an issue there. So let's see what it's looking like from the other side. Oh, yeah, loads of space. The only thing is this boot lip here is it's a shame that doesn't come out, because that would just give us a little bit more space and stop it compressing it. But yeah, you could fit a six foot tree in here, no problem, I reckon. So that's pretty good. So I'm just going to return the trolley, and then I'm setting the preheat on because it was only 13 degrees in there at the minute. And it should be nice and toasty when I've returned this to wherever it's got to go. So that little pre-burn then just took another % off the battery, but it's a bit warmer in here now, so I can take my coat off. So actually we used 1% there, and that was with a bit of preheating and the Sentry mode. But as I said, I was only in the shop for probably about 15 minutes because I wasn't that fussy over which tree I got. So Christmas tree on board. Let's head back home and see how much energy we use on the entire round trip. So home sweet home, and before we go on to the battery usage, it's getting a bit chilly in here, so let's just turn on the log fire. There we go. Right, that's a bit better. So that was a relatively short trip, only 22 miles, but we used almost 20% of the battery. It's saying we used 7 kilowatts, which doesn't equate to 20% of the battery. So that's more probably about 14% if you think the usable battery in a Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus is about 50 kilowatt hours. So where's the other 6% being used up? Well, that's probably been in the preheat and the Sentry mode, to be honest, because as I said, that initial burn to heat the cabin up uses a lot of power. So although the journey itself has used about 3 kilowatt hours per mile, actually, the entire battery usage is a lot higher because it hasn't accounted for all the battery use that you've used while stationary. Now, those that are new to electric cars, that works out about just over 100 mpg, so 100 miles per gallon. So you're probably wondering, how has he worked out it's 100 mpg? That's rubbish because it's clearly not a gallon of electricity. Well, some clever scientists worked out that to create the same amount of energy that you get from burning 1 gallon of fuel, you need 33.7 kilowatt hours of electricity. So they've kind of done some fancy maths. So from that, you can work out how many kilowatt hours per mile you get in your Tesla Model 3, times that by 33.7, and then you get your MPG. And the good news is that in summer, you actually get a way better MPG than that. You're probably looking more about 135 MPG, so 4 miles per kilowatt hour. So then if you build on top of that, it probably costs you about £1.68 to fill up with a gallon of electricity. Compare that to the combustion models, which will probably cost you about £5.32. I say about, clearly I've worked this out, to fill up with a gallon of fuel. So not only are electric cars more efficient, they're actually way cheaper to fill up as well. And this is where you make all your savings. So there you have it, a little insight into what a very short journey, only 22 miles round trip, will cost you in terms of battery usage and the expected range that you're going to get from that as well. Plus, what size Christmas tree you can fit in a Tesla Model 3. And looking at it, I could have gone 6 foot easily. Maybe more. That's it for this week. If you're wondering what you can get me for Christmas, it's simple. A thumbs up and a subscribe, because I've been a very good boy this year. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next week. I can't believe you guys got me a subscribe for Christmas. You really shouldn't have.